Hi, everybody. Welcome back to English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. My name is Lisa, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. In our busy lives, finding a moment of calm, a space where you can simply be and learn something new without pressure, well, that's what this podcast is all about. Think of this as a quiet corner, a cozy armchair, where we can explore the English language together. We'll dive into stories, everyday situations, and little reflections that not only help you understand new words and grammar, but also connect with the human experience, all at a pace that feels just right, easy on the ears, and gentle on the mind. My hope is that each episode feels less like a lesson and more like a conversation with a friend, a moment of gentle discovery. We're here to build your confidence, one slow, clear sentence at a time, making learning English a truly peaceful and enjoyable journey. If this episode helps you, if it brings a little peace or a new understanding to your day, I'd be so grateful if you liked, subscribed, or perhaps even left a kind comment. It truly helps me reach more beautiful ears like yours. But please, only if it feels right to you. No pressure at all. Now, get comfortable. Maybe pour some tea, and let's begin. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that, if you've ever worked in an office, or really any shared space with others, you'll probably nod along with. It's about those small, sometimes almost invisible things that our co-workers do, which, over time, can start to, grate on us a little. The title of our episode today is Cut It Out, Dealing with Annoying Coworkers. I remember a time, many years ago, when I worked in an office that was, for the most part, wonderfully peaceful. Imagine a quiet morning, the gentle hum of computers, the soft click of keyboards, and the occasional whisper of a phone call. It was a sanctuary for concentration, a place where thoughts could flow freely and tasks could be tackled with focus. That was until 10 o'clock. Every single morning, without fail, David would arrive with his steaming cup of coffee. David truly was a lovely person, kind-hearted, always helpful, and incredibly dedicated to his work. He was the kind of coworker you'd be happy to share a long car ride with. But David had a habit, a small, seemingly innocent habit that, in the quiet canvas of our open-plan office, began to paint a picture of relentless distraction for me. As he drank his coffee, he would slurp, and not just a little sip slurp. It was a consistent, rhythmic, slish slurp sound with every gulp. At first, I barely noticed it. It was just background noise, something that registered for a fleeting second, then faded as I returned to the spreadsheets or reports demanding my full attention. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, that soft, slish slurp began to accumulate in my mind. It started to feel less like a random sound and more like a deliberate invasion of my quiet space. My ears, it seemed, had developed a hypersensitivity to it. I'd unconsciously brace myself, waiting for the next slurp, counting them even. It was ridiculous, I knew, but I couldn't help it. It's funny, isn't it? How something so minor can grow into such a mountainous annoyance. This tiny, repetitive sound began to feel like a constant interruption, a little mental tug-of-war pulling me away from my concentration. I found myself clenching my jaw, my shoulders tensing, a subtle flush of heat rising in my neck. Inside, I was screaming, "Cut it out!" even though David was completely oblivious. simply enjoying his morning coffee. I tried everything. I'd put on my headphones, hoping the music would drown out the sound. But through the melodies, I'd still hear the faint, muffled slurp. I'd time my coffee breaks to coincide with his, thinking if I was also drinking, it wouldn't bother me. It didn't work. Sometimes, I'd even contemplate moving my desk or finding a hidden corner to escape to. But that felt extreme and, frankly, a bit childish for such a small thing. The internal conflict was the hardest part. David was a wonderful person, and here I was, getting increasingly agitated over his coffee-drinking style. I felt so guilty. Was I being unreasonable? Was my tolerance level simply too low? This guilt just added another layer of emotional weight to the situation. It wasn't just the noise, it was the judgment I felt towards myself for feeling so much irritation. That constant low-level irritation. That feeling of having my peaceful workspace invaded by a sound I couldn't control began to genuinely impact my mood. I'd find myself feeling tense and on edge, not just at 10 a.m., but throughout the morning, anticipating it. It was driving me crazy, truly. My patience wore thin, and I noticed I was less likely to shoot the breeze, to have those casual, friendly chats with David or anyone when I was in that state of heightened annoyance. It created an invisible wall between us. This experience, and countless others like it in shared living spaces, teaches us a profound lesson. It's not always about the big, dramatic conflicts. Often, it's the accumulation of these small, seemingly insignificant habits that slowly erode our peace and test our ability to coexist harmoniously. It makes us wonder, how do we navigate these everyday frictions without creating bigger problems? How do we find our voice to address these things while still maintaining kindness and respect? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. We'll look at the specific language we can use to gently, calmly, and effectively address these annoying coworker situations. We'll learn how to express our feelings without judgment, how to suggest solutions, and how to ultimately find a peaceful way to forgive and forget those little habits that can sometimes feel so large. Because when we spend so much of our lives alongside others, learning to navigate these nuances of shared space is not just about productivity. It's about our daily well-being and the quality of our relationships. So, let's begin to unpack this universal human experience together. Now, as we think about those everyday frictions, it's helpful to have the right words to describe them, and also to describe how we might deal with them. Language, after all, is our first tool for navigating the world, and it can help us understand ourselves and others better. So, let's gently explore some words and phrases that came up in our story, and some that are just very useful when we talk about these kinds of situations. The very first sound I described, David's coffee sound, was a slurp. To slurp, this word means to eat or drink something noisily, often unintentionally. Think of someone drinking soup or maybe even a smoothie and making a sound as they take it into their mouth. That's slurping. It's a very specific onomatopoeic word, meaning the word itself sounds like the action. Can you imagine that sound? Slurp. Try saying it slowly with me. Slurp. Another word I used was accumulate. I said the slurp sound began to accumulate in my mind. To accumulate means to build up or gather over a period of time. It's like when leaves accumulate on the ground in autumn or dust accumulates on a shelf. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process. Our feelings, especially annoyance, can accumulate. They build up bit by bit until they become a big pile. Think of something that accumulates in your life. Maybe papers on your desk or experiences in your memory. Accumulate. Try saying it now, slowly. Accumulate. Then there's the phrase, cut it out. I mentioned that inside I was screaming, cut it out. This is a strong but still informal way to tell someone to stop doing something that's annoying you. It's direct, but not usually aggressive. It's what you might say to a friend who's playfully teasing you too much, or to a child who's making a mess. It means, stop it immediately. Imagine a situation where someone is tapping their pen rhythmically and it's bothering you. You might lean over and softly say, could you cut it out, please? It's a very common phrase in English. Let's say it together, cut it out. Another phrase that perfectly captures that feeling of mounting irritation is, it's driving me crazy. I said David's slurp was driving me crazy. This phrase expresses extreme irritation or frustration. When something is driving you crazy, it means it's making you feel very annoyed, anxious, or even a little bit mad. It's not literal, of course. You're not actually losing your mind, but it feels like it. Perhaps a catchy song that plays repeatedly on the radio could be driving you crazy, or a persistent problem you can't solve. What's driving you crazy right now? It's driving me crazy. Try saying that phrase now with a little exasperation. It's driving me crazy. Sometimes when someone does something truly unbelievable or something that is just beyond what you can tolerate, you might say, you've got to be kidding me. This is a sarcastic way to express disbelief or frustration. It's often used when something is so absurd or annoying that you can't believe it's happening. Maybe your coworker just used your favorite mug without asking again and left it unwashed. You've got to be kidding me. It's a phrase that really shows your surprise and annoyance at the same time. You've got to be kidding me. Try saying it with a slight shake of your head. You've got to be kidding me. When we need a break from work or from those annoying habits, we might just want to shoot the breeze. I mentioned that I was less likely to shoot the breeze with David when I was annoyed. This lovely phrase means to have a casual, meaningless conversation, usually to pass the time. It's not about discussing important topics or work. It's just light, friendly talk, like talking about the weather or your weekend plans. It's that kind of relaxed chat you have in the hallway or by the water cooler. It's a wonderful way to connect with people without any pressure. Imagine yourself leaning back in your chair, just chatting. Shoot the breeze. Say it with me. Shoot the breeze. Now, as for resolving these little conflicts, or at least finding a way to move past them, we talked about finding a truce. A truce is a temporary agreement between two or more people or groups to stop fighting or arguing. It's often used in wars, but we can also use it in everyday life when there's a conflict. It's a pause, a moment of peace, even if the underlying issue isn't fully resolved. For example, two siblings might declare a truce after a long argument over a toy. It's a way to say, let's just stop fighting for now. Truce. Repeat that word. Truce. And finally, my hope for the situation with David, and indeed for any conflict, was to be able to forgive and forget. This common phrase means to resolve a conflict by letting go of your anger or resentment and moving on peacefully. It's about choosing not to hold a grudge, choosing to release that emotional burden. It's a beautiful concept, and not always easy to do, but very freeing. It means deciding that the past annoyance won't continue to affect your present or future relationship. When we forgive and forget, we choose peace. Forgive and forget. Let's say that together. Forgive and forget. And intertwined with all of these is the idea of being considerate. To be considerate means to be thoughtful and respectful toward others' feelings. It's about putting yourself in someone else's shoes and thinking about how your actions might affect them. David, for example, might have been more considerate if he'd realized how loud his slurping was in a quiet office. When we are considerate, we pay attention to the small things that can make a big difference in someone else's day. It's a quality that helps us live harmoniously with others. Considerate. Try saying that word now. Considerate. These words and phrases, from the annoyance itself to the way we might express and resolve it, are all part of the fabric of daily communication. They help us name our experiences and navigate the sometimes tricky waters of human interaction. And the more comfortable you are with them, the more confidently you can express yourself in English. Now, as we think about those words, from the loud slurp to the desire to forgive and forget, it's natural to start wondering how we might navigate these situations in the future. How will we talk to our coworkers? What changes will we make? This brings us gently to how we talk about plans and possibilities for what will happen or what will be happening. Let's explore two very useful ways we talk about the future in English. The first is the future simple tense using will or won't. We use this when we make a decision right now about the future, or when we predict something that will happen, or even when we make a promise. Think about our situation with David. If I decide to talk to him, I might say, I will talk to David about his coffee habit tomorrow. That's a firm decision, an action I plan to take. Or perhaps, if I'm feeling optimistic, I might think, I hope he will understand. That's a prediction about his reaction. And if I want to commit to something, I could say, I won't let this small thing bother me so much in the future. That's a promise to myself, the future. Simple is like a clear path stretching ahead, showing us what we intend to do or what we believe will happen. It's direct and to the point. When you're feeling annoyed and you decide, I will try to be more patient, you are using the future simple. Or if you predict this situation will get better soon, you're also using it. Now, let's gently consider another way to talk about the future, which is often used for actions that will be in progress at a certain time or for ongoing situations. This is the future continuous tense formed with will be and the ing form of the verb. It gives a sense of something unfolding, something happening over a period of time in the future. Imagine the day after a calm conversation with David. Perhaps I might reflect, tomorrow morning, when I arrive at the office, I will be feeling a little more hopeful. That feeling isn't a single action. It's an ongoing state. Or maybe, David and I will be working on a new project together next month, so it's important we find a way to get along. The working relationship will be an ongoing situation. It's also helpful for thinking about new habits or changes. If David genuinely tries to change, I might observe, Hopefully, he will be using headphones more often when he drinks coffee. This suggests an ongoing action, a new pattern of behavior. It's like painting a picture of what life will be like in the future, rather than just stating a single event. So, when you think about your own workplace or any situation that needs a resolution, you can use these tenses to plan. You might decide, I will ask my coworker politely if they could quiet down. That's a future simple decision, but then you might think, and if they do, our office environment will be feeling much more peaceful. That describes the ongoing state in the future, the continuous improvement. It's about gently setting intentions and imagining how things might evolve. What steps will you take to find more peace in your surroundings? What positive changes will be happening as a result of those steps? These grammar patterns help us articulate our hopes and plans, not just for dealing with annoying coworkers, but for all aspects of our lives where we want to shape what's to come. They allow us to move from simply recognizing an annoyance to actively planning for a better, calmer tomorrow. Now, let's bring all these gentle ideas together, the words we've explored, and the ways we talk about the future, into some real-life moments. This is where we can truly feel the language, let it settle, and even speak it ourselves. I invite you to join me in this practice. You can just listen, or if you feel comfortable, you can softly repeat after me, or even whisper your own thoughts. There's no pressure, just a gentle invitation to connect with the English. Let's imagine our friend David and his coffee slurping again. Sometimes, in that moment of irritation, the words just pop into your head. You might think, oh, I just want to tell him, cut it out with that noise. Can you try saying that with me softly? Cut it out. And now, with a bit more context, imagining the moment. Oh, I just want to tell him, cut it out with that noise. Sometimes, the constant small annoyances can really get to you. You might find yourself thinking, this little habit, it's really driving me crazy. It's an honest feeling, isn't it? Let's try saying that phrase. It's driving me crazy. Now, putting it into a sentence slowly. This little habit, it's really driving me crazy. Think about a time something small just built up inside you. Perhaps a coworker constantly tapping their pen. You might think, my patience will be accumulating if they don't stop that tapping soon. That's a prediction about your ongoing emotional state. Let's try saying that. My patience will be accumulating. And the full thought. My patience will be accumulating if they don't stop that tapping soon. It's often those small sounds, isn't it? The little slurp of a drink, the hum of someone's loud music through headphones. You might decide, I will try to ignore the slurp as today, but it's hard. What will you try to ignore in your environment if you can? Just think about it for a moment. Sometimes, when an annoying habit happens again, it just feels unbelievable. You might inwardly groan and think, you've got to be kidding me. That phrase expresses such frustration and disbelief. Let's try it slowly. You've got to be kidding me. Imagine a situation that makes you shake your head and sigh. What's the first thing that comes to mind? How would you react with that phrase? Now, let's think about resolutions, about making things better. After a talk, or even just some quiet reflection, you might hope for a period of peace. You could say, I hope we will call a truce on these little arguments soon. A truce is a beautiful word for a temporary peace, a pause in the conflict. Let's practice saying truce, truce. And the full sentence, I hope we will call a truce on these little arguments soon. If you have a conversation with your coworker, you might anticipate a positive change. You might think, I believe he will be trying to be more considerate after our talk. Being considerate means being thoughtful and kind to others. How can we all be a little more considerate in our daily lives? Just ponder that for a moment. Well, he will be trying to be more considerate. And of course, after everything, the goal is often to let go of the tension. You might say to yourself or to your coworker, ultimately, I hope we will be able to forgive and forget. This phrase helps us move on peacefully from conflict. Let's say it together, softly. Forgive and forget. And the whole idea, ultimately, I hope we will be able to forgive and forget. Sometimes the best solution is simply to change the topic, to lighten the mood. You might hope that in the future, next week we will be shooting the breeze and laughing about this instead. To shoot the breeze is just to have a casual, easy conversation. Can you imagine yourself doing that? We will be shooting the breeze. And the full idea. Next week, we will be shooting the breeze and laughing about this instead. You see how these phrases and grammar patterns help us express not just our feelings, but also our hopes and plans for the future. They give us the words to navigate those sometimes tricky, sometimes humorous, human interactions. I encourage you now, if you have a moment, to reflect on your own experiences. Perhaps you can open a small notebook or a journal. What is one small thing that sometimes annoys you? How will you try to deal with it? What positive changes will be happening if you address it? You don't have to write perfectly. Just let the words flow. Try using some of the vocabulary and grammar we've practiced today. Maybe you can write down, I will try to be more patient, or I hope my coworker will be more considerate. Even speaking these thoughts aloud to yourself in a quiet moment can be incredibly powerful for your English fluency. It builds muscle memory for your mouth and helps your brain connect the sounds with the meaning. Take your time with it. There's no rush. Just gentle practice whenever you feel ready. As we gently bring our time together to a close today, I hope you feel a quiet sense of calm and perhaps a little more confidence in navigating those everyday moments that can sometimes feel a bit loud. We started by thinking about those small, sometimes irritating habits we encounter in others. Whether it's a coffee slurp or a habit that feels like it's driving you crazy. It's easy to let those little things accumulate inside us, building up until we feel like we just want to say, cut it out. But as we've explored, there's a beautiful way to approach these moments, not just with words, but with a deeper understanding. Remember how we talked about calling a truce? It's more than just a temporary halt to an argument. It's an invitation for peace, a moment to breathe and find common ground. And the idea of being considerate, it's about stepping into someone else's shoes, even for a moment, and understanding that we all have our quirks. Ultimately, the goal is often to find a way to forgive and forget, not just for others, but for our own inner peace, It's about letting go of what doesn't serve us and creating a harmonious space, whether in an office or simply in our own minds. Learning these phrases, understanding these concepts, it's not just about English words. It's about learning to navigate the beautiful, sometimes messy dance of human connection. It's about finding harmony in the everyday symphony of life. If this helped you feel more confident in English today, I'd be so grateful if you shared it with someone learning too. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep learning.